Welcome to a new video. My name is Nico and today I want to show you how you can build an entire streamdeck plugin. The plugin that I want to build with you together is a Steam plugin that will be able to update your Steam status. So either if you're away or offline or invisible. And we will be implementing that using the streamdeck SDK. So in this video you will learn how to set up all the software, you will learn how to set up the code editor, you will be getting to know the streamdeck software development kit, and we will be implementing the entire plugin together. And in the end, we will deploy it to streamdeck and test it out. So let's get started. First thing that we want to do is we want to set up our coding environment. And for that, we will be using Visual Studio Code. I've already downloaded Visual Studio Code and we can now install it. And once the installer is finished, we can launch Visual Studio Code right away. So here we go. Here's our coding environment. We will need to do some setup, but let's keep that for a bit later. To run the streamdeck software development kit and later our plugins, we will need NodeJS, the JavaScript runtime environment. And for that, we can just head over to nodejs.org, where we can get the environment. And please go ahead and select the long-term support version 20 of Node.js. And you can get that here under download, pre-built installer, and then you can choose whether you want to have it for macOS or Windows. You can choose the version. We are going for 20.18.1 at the moment. Might be a, if you watch the video in the future, might be a higher version, but please go for 20 right now. The SDK will tell you once we can go to a higher version. Download it and install it, and then you're good to go. Okay, so now it's time to jump from the sandbox onto the real life system, because now we will be installing the streamdeck software development kit using npm, which is a package manager that came with Node.js that you installed previously. And you can find the Elgato's streamdeck software development kit here on npm. And here's our install command. So we can copy that to the clipboard, paste it here in our terminal, in VS Code in our terminal, and just hit enter. For me, it will most likely just do an update, but if you haven't had it installed previously, it will do the entire install with that same command. And we will see that we will be added a few packages. And you can also see that there are 36 packages looking for a funding. So if you want to support open source projects, you can head and type npm fund to see which packages are looking for funding, and you could help them out. All right, so now that we have our SDK installed, we want to use it and see if it works. So we can type in streamdeck, and we can see that the command is recognized and that we get quite a few commands that we can actually do here. So for example, we can now use the creation wizard that comes with streamdeck to create our very first plugin, and we want to create the Steam status updater. So I will type in streamdeck create, and now we are in that creation wizard. The author is me. The plugin name would be Steam status update or switcher. Then it already proposes a UUID, and the UUID is a unique identifier that streamdeck requires to identify that plugin. So if you have two plugins with the same ID, streamdeck will get confused. So make sure that that ID is at least unique on your system. And then we can add a description. So that would be to change the status in Steam with a key press. And then I can, it will ask me if I want to create that plugin, and I can say, yes, I do. And now the streamdeck SDK is creating a template plugin for me, and that is going to be where we will be starting implementing and adding our code to the plugin, and also be deploying it to streamdeck. So now you can see it's building the plugin. And now it successfully created the plugin and it's asking me to open it in VS Code. Now that we ran through the creation wizard of the streamdeck SDK, let's see what we've created. So we've opened the plugin that we just created with the wizard in VS Code. And I've already prepared it here, so that's why it's called update, not switcher. But apart from that, I didn't touch it. We will be greeted with a bunch of files, but I will point out the ones that are really important for us. So the first folder that is really important to us is the source folder. Here we will find all our TypeScript files that we need to either add to the plugin or change to implement our logic into the plugin. And then we have a com dot, in my case, Nico Hagedorn dot Steam status update dot streamdeck plugin. And in here, you can find a few more interesting folders. First of all, the log folder, that is an interesting one because here we can read all of our log messages that we create during runtime, and that can be helpful for logging. But also our UI folder, and the UI folder is the UI that we will find in streamdeck when we open the action, and I can show you that real quick. So we have the action right there, and here is our UI, and that is represented by an HTML that we can put into UI. So at the moment, what the plugin that we've created is doing, it's an increment plugin, and I can, for example, increment by 2. So every time I press, it's incrementing by 2. If I switch this up, it will be incrementing by a few more. So we have a simple slider here. And this is all the plugin is doing at the moment. So we've built it and we can deploy it to streamdeck. How that works, I'll show you. To run our plugin, we can do the following. So we jump into our terminal and do npm run watch. And what this is doing, it is building the plugin and it's deploying it to streamdeck. And it will update the plugin on runtime every time we change something in the TypeScript files or the manifest. And you can see it's waiting here for changes. So if I'm just doing something like this, it's doing it again. And if we now jump into streamdeck, our correct profile, I can drag the plugin I just built in here, and I have my incrementer, and we can take it from here. Okay, so we already gotten quite far. So we've installed all the software and things that we need to build a plugin. We actually created a plugin and deployed it to streamdeck, which is amazing. And now we need to change that plugin that we just created in a way so it's doing what we want it to do. And that means we need to add the action status update or status switch, however we want to call it. We obviously want to add custom icons to it, so it will display the icons that we want. And we need to create a UI for that plugin so we can put in the settings that we want. So our goal is to build a single action that we will call status update. And in the UI of the plugin, we are then able to say what status update it should do. So whether it should set us on away or invisible or online or offline. So let's get to it. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to update our class. And for this, first we want to rename the file, and we will call it status update or status, update. So do I want to update all the imports? Yes, I do. So that's already good. Then we can change the name of our class into status update. Then I need to update it in here as well. Then obviously what I also need to do, I need to update the UUID of my action. And as I said before, the plugin has a UUID to be identified by streamdeck. And based on that UUID, every action has a unique identifier as well. So it previously was increment, and we now need to change this to status. We can remove all the comments up here. I mean, they will be helpful when you implement everything. the moment I want to remove them to make it a bit more understandable. Now we have a few functions here that are a little bit self-explanatory. I still want to explain to you how they work. So the on will appear is whenever the action appears on your stream deck, that function and that event will be triggered. So for example, I'm now switching the page and now this function was triggered. So the second event that is really important is the on key down event. And next to the on will appear, the on key down event will be triggered whenever you press a key. But before we jump into further events, let's see what else do we need to do, because we've made a few changes onto our action. The second thing that we need to update is our import here in the plugin.ts. This one was updated due to the refactoring that we did with the renaming of the file. We also need to update the title of our class that we are registering with streamdeck, and we also need to update the UUID of our action in the manifest. So I've already did this. Here we have now status instead of increment as it was before. So previously up here we had increment. We had increment in here. So if you have your template plugin, you will see increment here. You need to update this UUID. And now we have everything that we need to actually run our plugin. And you can do that really, really simple by running npm run watch down in the console. This will build the plugin and rebuild the plugin every time you save a TypeScript file or the manifest. So now our plugin is deployed, it's built. And if we change something in here, so let's add a ev action show OK after every key press. This is being added. And there we go. Now we've changed something in our plugin. But obviously we don't want to have an increment. We want to have a Steam status updater. Okay, so now we've accomplished quite a few amazing things. So everything's installed, we made sure everything's working, and we can make changes to our plugin and they are being deployed onto Stream Deck and become visible. So that's really cool. I've been talking a few things and I'm not diving too deep into a few other things, for example, the manifest. So I will link videos about those topics in the video description so you can check them out. And the manifest video will be linked up here as well. So if you like that, a like and a subscribe would be amazing. So now let's get going and building the Steam functionality. To implement the features that we want, and that is changing the status, we can make use of the API, the deep link API that Steam is providing to us. So we can use URLs and call those, and they will be redirected to our Steam client. And you can see them here in the Valve software documentation. I will link that in the video description as well. And what we can do here is, for example, we can say Steam /friends/ and then, for example, down here, status away, status busy, status invisible, status trade, status play offline, online. So depending on what URLs I'm calling, my status will update because they will be redirected to Steam. And so what we need to now do is whenever we press a key, that actually this URL is being called and forwarded to Steam. So let's take two of those URLs and we can say status online. So the two URLs that we want are Steam friends/status/offline and online. And we can maybe add invisible. So in the first approach, our plugin will be able to change to these three states: online, offline, and invisible. I'm already getting the suggestion here to add away, so let's do that. Okay, so now how do we get this to work? We have our 4 status updates, and we need to be able to call between those 3, and we also need to be able to set them. So let's start in the very beginning of the user journey. You're dragging your action onto the canvas, and then the UI of your action opens. And here you want to have a drop-down menu where you can select what status you want to set. So let's get started with that. So let's implement the UI. And for that, we will jump into here, and we will be renaming this file in the UI. So let's say rename, and we will call this status HTML. You need to update it into the manifest as well, because in here it's called increment counter, which is wrong. And while we're at it, we can also change the tooltip, and this will be change the status of your Steam chat. There we go. Pretty cool. So now that we have changed the manifest, we need to update our HTML. And for that, let's have a look on the maker documentation first. So in the maker documentation, we have a section that is called property inspector. I will link the documentation in the video description as well. And here we can see that there is a bunch of stuff explained. And we also have a few components that we can be using in our property inspector. So how do we do that? I mean, what we want to have in our property inspector in our UI is a select. And if we click on here, we can already see, okay, this brings us to the streamdeck UI components. And that's exactly what we want, right? A drop down where we can select our status. And here's code that we can copy and paste in here, which is exactly what we want. So we will replace the slider that we saw previously from the increment. And if we save this now and jump into streamdeck, you can already see now we have that working example. So all we need to do now is change those values. So we previously said we want to have offline, online, invisible, and away. So that's offline, online, then invisible. And we want to have another option that we will call away. Now we can remove the opt group, save this, have a look into streamdeck again. Ooh, there's our status. Now we can change the status. The setting will be status, not color. And now this is important. So the setting that we are selecting here is a direct match to the settings of our action. So if you go back here, then down here we still have the counter settings. So we will change them to something else. So we will call them status settings. And we will have a status in here, which is not a number, but a string. We don't need the increment by. So at the moment, this is completely fine. And you can see, because we removed our settings, all of those variables are not working anymore. So let's remove everything down here, because we will be re-implementing all of this from scratch. Okay, to get Steam to change its state, we need to fire those URLs that we already put into the comments. And if you look through the maker documentation, you will find opening URLs here. Unfortunately, this package and this function will only work with regular URLs, not deep links like the one that we are using here at the moment to talk to Steam. So as long as you have HTTPS in front of it or HTTP, try this and see if it works. If it doesn't work, there's an alternative. We can go ahead and install the open package from npm. It's pretty simple. It's just an npm I install. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we can use it. So let's say npm I install, I open. Now it's either installing or updating the package. And now let's implement the function on how we want to do it. So the first thing that we need in that open action is we need to get our settings. And we can get the settings, and these are the settings that we put into the UI, and whatever we select in the dropdown will be then ending up here. So we can say ev payload settings, and now we can access the settings, and we can now say open. And then here we can go ahead and grab our URL, put this into brackets, into a string format, but we want to put it into a string format so we can just exchange the variable in the end. So now whatever we choose in our settings in the UI, this will end up here and will get fired into Steam to change the state. So let's go ahead and try it. So we need to save it, do npm run watch. We need to fire up Steam in parallel. So at the moment I'm set as invisible. I want to change my state to online. I can press this. Boom, I'm online. I want to be on away. Now I'm away. And if I want to be offline, I can do the same. So perfect, that works flawlessly. So now the logic in the plugin is working. What it's not working yet is that we get an updated icon on our action. And we need to get icons from somewhere. So I really do like the Icons 8 website, where you get a ton of free icons, and I never had the occurrence that I didn't find an icon that at least would, to a certain extent, fit what I need. So I already chose a few icons for our status. So this is the online icon, this is the offline icon, this is the away icon, and here we have the invisible icon. The cool thing is what you can do, you can change the color of the icon. So you can, for example, say this one's red, and we can make this white. Done. We can then go ahead and download it and add it to our plugin. If once you have downloaded the images, add them into the images folder. I did this under actions. I created a new folder that is called status. And in here, I added all the images. And what's important to make my life a little bit easier, I named the images and the icons in the same way that the settings variable is named. So I can just reuse the variable again to just choose the correct image. Now let's do this together. We have two occasions when we need to update the image of our action. The first one is whenever the action appears on the canvas, I want to get the settings and display the correct icon. And as soon as I change something in the UI, I'm getting another event, and that is the onDidReceive settings event. Because here something changed in the UI, I changed something in the dropdown, and I want to update the icon accordingly. So let's now implement those two methods, and that will be const settings equals ev payload dot settings. So we have that now, and we need that in both cases. And we now can go ahead and say ev action dot set image. We want to have a formatted string again, and now we need to say I'm imgs slash actions slash status, and here we now get already the proposal, say settings.status.png. We can copy that down here as well. So now I have a plugin where, depending on what I choose in the property inspector, the icon should update. So let's try this out. Jump down here into this one, choose a status, say online, there we go. Nice. Perfect. Now we can do a few more cosmetic things. For example, we can update the icon in here, the category icon and the icon of the action itself. And then we can pack the whole thing and we're done. So I now downloaded two further icons that I want to now set as the category icon and the action icon. So the first one is the Steam icon, and I want to put this on the category, and I want to put the check mark on the action. So how do we do this? We jump ahead into our manifest, and then we can say in here, the action itself can get a standard icon that we have on the key. This is this one, so that's fine. We want to update this one actually. So we will go ahead and say plugin/status. And we also want to update our category icon, and that is that one. And we will say Steam here. So now we can save this and have a look in streamdeck what it's doing. There we go. Now it's all there. Our plugin that we wanted to build is finished. So we created a plugin with a single action that can change my status in Steam, and now we want to pack that thing. So we need to cancel the batch progress. Then we will go ahead and say streamdeck pack, and then say this one, package it. There we go. And now we have a streamdeck plugin right there that we can share with friends and colleagues and whoever we want to. So thank you very much for watching. We built an entire plugin from scratch, including all the setup, until we can package the whole thing. And you can see it right there. So here are our four variables of actions, which are coming from the same action. And now I can change my state within Steam with a single press. So now I'm online, now I'm invisible, now I'm set on away, and this is amazing. So feel free to build this as well. Feel free to share plugins that you're building in the comments. Have fun building streamdeck plugins. And if you like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you do not miss any further videos. Thank you very much, and see you in the next one.